Greetings and welcome to another episode of Equestrian's Library. Today I'll review Pita Kelekna's book, The Horse in Human History. This is one of our nonfiction books for the series, and it explores the horse, through history. She starts off a little bit with some prehistoric information, but for the most part she sticks to the historical importance and influence that the horses had, primarily pointing out the fact that the horse helped ideas including languages and numbers and people to both conquer and explore. She points out that when the Silk Road was blocked by Muslim empires, that European powers then, in trying to go east, since their overland routes were blocked, went west across the Atlantic and discovered the New World. And what did they take with them but horses? And she does get into the horse in Native American culture as well, and that it was picked up very quickly and intensely. The Plains culture really didn't come about until those groups had horses, and in fact some Native American nations split because some of them wanted to stay and have their more traditional lands in the forests, and others saw an opportunity to go exploit better the riches of the plains. Of course, we all know that soon after that happened, European descendants came further west as well, and you have America spreading from coast to coast over time. Also with help from the horse. So here she puts together some of this information and kind of comes to some interesting new correlations that I think are worth sharing. She talks about artillery and how the use of artillery kind of ends the horse's role in the battlefield. I mean, horses were used to bring forward artillery, and there was one last charge. There was a ship taken with cavalry, but I don't think they actually used their horses for that during World War II. So here she concludes that something a little bit more recent. While many authors would have concluded a work of this type with the end of the horse as a common sight in the industrialized world, Kelekna is careful to trace the symbolic and descendant examples of horses up to the present. Her examples range from the mundane measure of engine power, horsepower, to bold connection between the September 11 attack and the original kamikaze, drawing a connection between the swiftness of the horse and the speed of the attacks. So, like riders riding upon and shooting as they go past. She kind of sees with the actions of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on New York and DC as being like those sweeping equestrian forces swooping in for the attack. Kelekna ultimately brings the horse in human history around to the question which sparked her curiosity. What would the Americas have looked like if the native domestic horses had survived into the modern period? Some of you may know this, but horses were actually in the Americas and overlap a little bit with when humans would have been here that we know about. And however, the ones that went extinct in the Americas, were only about the size of like a large to medium-sized dog. They never got to the fuller height that you find in Eurasia and the steppes, the Asian steppes. So what would have happened if they had stayed, though? By developing and exploring the myriad impacts horses did have in Eurasia, she was able to make some predictions about the impact they would have had in the Americas. Readers know what the horse contributed in the Old World and how it influenced Native American cultures once those cultures adopted equestrian lifestyles. Kelekna portrays the pre-Columbian world that connected inventions and ideas as in the Old World. One example with potentially huge consequences would have been a connection between the Incan Quipu system and the Mayan glyph writing system. This never occurred in the Americas, but if more intense equine-enabled contacts had existed, it might have. Native American people certainly took up the horse quickly once given the chance. One of the intriguing questions Kelekna raises is a thought experiment. Would the militaries of pre-Columbian Americas have fared better had the horse survived and undergone domestication in the New World as well as the Old? Her argument that cavalry forces were best suited to resist cavalry forces certainly argues so. She does. She points out that in pretty much every instance of a people trying to conquer another people, if one of them has horses and the other one doesn't, the one with horses usually wins unless they have the environment on their side. Like, say they're in a really tropical environment with lots of disease-carrying mosquitoes. With that exception, if, where we see people on horseback invading and conquering, they are successful unless the other peoples had horses. And she gives some examples, one of them being Japan. Japan was really able to withstand quite a few conquest attempts, both by China and for a while from Europeans even, thanks to the fact that they could match cavalry for cavalry. Then gunboats got involved and things got complicated for Japan. Another thing that I don't have in this earlier review that I've written is there's a possibility that the Americas may have developed a wheel beyond a toy. Right now the only wheel that's used from pre-Columbian New World is on a toy, and this makes sense when you consider that they didn't have any domestic animals larger than a medium-sized dog, and so there was no real drive to make a wheel. People were pretty efficient at carrying things, and the terrain for it would have taken a lot of work to clear roads, as later people found out. So that would have been interesting if there had been a large animal that they would have been able to use, and would that have driven them to create a wheel to help use this animal. Anyhow, if you are interested in a really nice, concise history of horses and humans working together and their influences on each other, please go read this. There is a paperback version that's about between $25 and $27.